My name is Michelle and I'm back. And this time I am back with a story time of the whole thing. Because I figure I might as well explain from start to finish. Because that might help people. So, I basically just got a TFMR yesterday, which was rough. But I found out I was pregnant in the beginning of October. Super excited. We were trying for a while. And for some reason, when we got pregnant, I just couldn't get excited. Like, I really wanted the pregnancy, but it was something that was making me very nervous. And I don't know why, still to this day. I just have this feeling of doom. So if anyone else ever went through that and had this bizarre feeling of doom, let me know. I'd be very curious if it's like some weird intuition thing, or it just freaks me out how I had so much like anxiety even from the beginning without even knowing what was to come. But anyway, I found I was pregnant. Pregnancy test here. And we had our first ultrasound around October 26th to see if it had a heartbeat. And even before then, I was so stressed. Like, there's not going to be a heartbeat. What if nothing was there? But something was there. It was this little guy. And after that, my husband was like, see, be happy. And I was like, no, because we could miscarry. What if we miscarry? Like, I was just so negative because I just knew something was going to go wrong. And our next appointment was sometime in November. I think it was like November 11th or 14th, sometime in November. And it was for our 8-week. And she was like, little gummy bear, and so cute. My husband was like, see, be excited. I still couldn't. I was like, yeah, but we have to wait till 12 weeks. So then when we had our 12-week scan, we were supposed to get our 12-week scan. And we were supposed to get our blood drawn for the NIPT, which is supposed to be a really exciting time because you want to see the gender, you want to see everything like that. The baby was back facing, so they couldn't do the NIPT scan. It's like they couldn't do anything about it. So they told me not to worry because I was doing the NIPT test and just count on that. But what was really weird about that day was normally they send you like a picture, which is why I have videos of some of the other ultrasounds. Normally they send you like a little picture to your phone of the baby, and their system was down on this particular day, so I didn't get a text message. So before we left, I kept counting them, and then they gave me like just the printout that normally I wouldn't see. It had like the doctor's notes on it. And I noticed it said that the baby's crown rump length was measuring 11 weeks, even though I knew my baby was 12 weeks. So it set off an alarm to me. In my intuition, I was like, something's weird about this. And again, I started feeling dread. So then I was waiting to get an NIPT test back, and I was super nervous. It was through Natera, and I did a video on that too. And it was low fetal fraction. So then I immediately got, my OB was just real cold and just like shooed me away to an MFM doctor. So I called the MFM doctor and I got set up for an appointment. I believe it was December 18th. And they also sent me the appointment with a genetic counselor, which was like the next day to talk like via Zoom. And the genetic counselor was very, very sweet. She told me that it happens all the time with Natera and not to worry, and that it's one of the most common reasons why she gets new clients is because of the low fetal fraction stuff from Natera. And she said they didn't even test your blood. It's just an algorithm thing. And then she told me that because I was already 12 weeks, that I should do, or past 12 weeks, she thought I was at this point 14 weeks. Like, that's what I was supposed to be. That I could do maternity 21 because, at this point, I would have miscarried if it was triploidy. So, like, it would be safe to do maternity 21, which I shouldn't have listened to. I should have done the Natera again. I wish I would have. So I ended up I set up my maternity 21 appointment for December 22nd, and then I had my MFM appointment set for December 18th. So when I went to my MFM appointment on December 18th, the doctor was really nice, but he said that he was convinced that my baby was 12 weeks. I was supposed to be 14 weeks at this point. This was like 2 weeks after the initial 12-week appointment I had. And he was like, no, this baby's measuring 12 weeks. The babies at this stage all grow at a certain rate, so this is definitely a 12-week baby, and I wouldn't worry about it. I think that your NIPT was just, you got that result because you were too early. And in my head, I'm thinking like, no, I know the exact date I ovulated. Like, this does not make sense, but you can't argue with like a doctor about that. So he explained to me that the nuchal fold measurement was great, had a nasal bone, everything looked great, not to worry, and he wanted me to come back on January 23rd for like an early anatomy scan, but basically more of a dating scan. He just wanted to see if he was right. So for example, I should have been 19 weeks on January 23rd, but if he was right about dating, I would have been 17 weeks. So he wanted me to come back on January 23rd. On January 3rd, I got back my maternity 21 NIPT results, and it showed low risk, everything down the board in this little boy. So finally, I was excited from the beginning of January up until January 23rd, where I started planning my baby shower. I started planning the nursery, started buying baby clothes. Like I was finally getting excited and allowing myself to feel safe. But I was still dreading this appointment really bad. I was dreading it. I don't know why. I had so much anxiety. My husband thought it was crazy. He was like, why do you have so much anxiety? Like something's going to go wrong. Like these people have these tests all the time. But I had anxiety. And when we got there, I was super nervous. And they started doing an eye scan. And the sonographer this time really wasn't saying much to me. It was very weird, very short. And she went and talked to the doctor. She didn't even give me any pictures. She just went to talk to the doctor. And the doctor came back and he said, the good news is that I was right with the dating. The baby's 17 weeks. Now in reality, he wasn't right with the dating. It's just the baby had triploidy. But the bad news is that there's some major issues on the ultrasound. So the baby had hydrocephaly, I think that's how you pronounce it, the brain. The ventricle was like over 15 on the one side. There was fluid around the heart. There was a missing kidney and a 2-vessel cord. And he just said all that. He's like, so we have to do an amnio right now. Now I'm afraid of needles, but I was in such shock of like what he just said. I was like in a complete daze during the amnio. So he just wheeled the cart in, put the needle in really fast. And then basically I just asked him, I was like, the amnio comes back normal, then that's good, right? He's like, well, then you still have these congenital issues. So I held it together, but when we got in the car, I was like bawling. And then me and my husband talked about it for a while, and we're like, well, listen, if there's nothing seriously wrong with the baby, like if, let's say it's just structural issues, we can get a stent and we can get surgery for that. And it's okay if it has one kidney, and the umbilical cord isn't a big deal. Lots of people have like a 2-vessel cord and are fine. Lots of people live with one kidney. Maybe the heart thing will go away. If the brain thing doesn't go away, we'll just get surgery. Like we were trying to we were being optimistic and assuming it was just going to be a structural thing that we could like fix. And then it was really hard trying to keep myself optimistic because you're still pregnant and you're just worried. And I had another meeting with my genetic counselor on February 2nd, I believe it was. Well, I'm just going to say February. I think it was February 2nd. It's February 2nd. And she was telling me she wanted to have an appointment to sit down and explain to me like what happens with the like amnio test, like what it's looking at. And she said to me like, I'm not worried about the baby having like one of the first parts, which I guess some people call the fish test, but fish test is normally like really fast. They didn't give me an option to do fast testing. I had to wait a week, but she said like the first one that tests for the major chromosome things like trisomy 21, 18, 13, she explained to me that she didn't think that would come back with anything just because of the fact that I did the NIPT and the NIPT came back normal. And then she explained to me that like, if the baby had anything that the NIPT didn't test for, like something with chromosome number 1 or 2 or things like that, or a triploidy, the baby would have passed already in utero. So she just was completely convinced it wasn't going to be something like that. Like she was set on it being some sort of like micro deletion, if anything. So then, I'm not even gonna lie, it was like 15 minutes after I got off Zoom with her, she called and told me that she got the results back and the baby had triploidy, which was devastating. And then I had to set up a termination and all that because those babies don't survive. And especially because the issues the baby had were connected to what was going on structurally, the baby won't survive. So then I asked her in an email, I ended up emailing her later that day, and I said, is there any way for you to tell if it's maternal or paternal? And she said, based on the ultrasound alone, she would tell me it's maternal because the baby was small, placenta was small, and that normally with paternal, you could see it like in the ultrasound, like you could see like a cystic placenta. But I still insisted that I wanted to know. So I asked her if she could call up the labs and make sure that they can test for that since they had my blood. and the amnio results. So she did, and she said, yep, they're going to test for that, so we'll find out. And then literally right before my procedure, my TFMR, she called to let me know it was paternal. So not only did this pregnancy not miscarry early, but it looked completely normal in the beginning, and then it just completely went downhill at 20 weeks. It should have miscarried way earlier than that. And it was a paternal triploidy, but had no signs of it. Like the placenta looked normal, but just small, and the baby structurally didn't have anything that, like, you know, I forget what you call it, but those pockets in the back, like the neck, the fluid. So it completely shocked her. Like everything from this just completely shocked her. And then when we went to get the TFMR, the baby's brain had got so much fluid that was like a lump. It was like the one side was up here, the other side was down here. I didn't look at it, but my husband did and told me that. And then all the amniotic fluid was basically gone. So the baby was not going to survive. And then the feet, he had 2 right feet, which was very interesting. So it was just a devastating thing, like all around from start to finish. And not expected at all. So that's that story. And if you have to go through something like that, you know, I'm really sorry. It's horrible. You always are supposed to be able to, like, you know, be happy or excited after the 12-week mark. But when you experience something like this, it's like, when can you feel safe? You can't feel safe till after the anatomy scan. It's like 5 months in. It's hard. And that's why we want to do IVF, because it's like, I'm forever torn and scarred from this. Because we went, you know, January was when I started to let myself, like, be happy and plan stuff, and then just all in your face. So I hope if you're going through this too, it gives you comfort knowing that someone else did, because I like hearing stories of other people and then success stories from other people, because it makes me feel like hopeful. I'm trying to stay really positive. I still have a lot of faith, and I'm just hoping that there's a rainbow at the end of this, and that one day we can look back and understand why everything happened. But that is my story of what happened from A to B and why we ended up with the TFMR, and why it's so late. And I wish some people know people who get second-term abortions or terminations for medical reasons. It's almost always because the baby just won't survive. And it's less traumatic to go through it and just then watch the baby be stillborn to me or anything like that. And if I didn't go through it, the baby was going to end up miscarrying at any day, because the amniotic fluid was like nothing, and it was starting to make me ill. I still don't know why, but I was so physically sick, and my blood pressure was going up and down towards the end of it. I still don't understand why, but it made me really, really ill. And I just, as soon as the TFMR was over, I started feeling healthy again, which is very, very strange. But I'm sorry for going through this. I will post an update after my OB appointment to see how it's going with my TFMR, and then I'll post a video on the IVF consultation. I'll let you know how that goes. And that's it for now. So I'll see y'all later.